All right, guys, welcome back to the live. Today we have a very special guest. We have the CEO and founder of Sensay. Dan, nice to meet you. How are you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, good to see you. All good, thanks. How's everything going for you?
I've been all right. We had an AMA privately in the private group. I think it was about
Yep.
3 months ago. I think now it's
Yeah,
time
it
to
would have
get it
been
on
now.
meeting.
Yeah,
It would have
three
been
months
around.
ago. It was like a month after the launch, and yeah, it's been just crazy how fast that all the time's gone. But and just what a great few months. I mean,
It's
not the
been a
best
bit.
week all around this week, but yeah, great few months.
I mean, that's just the general market. It will lift off again. It's just a lot of there's a lot of scares right now regarding recession. There's a few other issues regarding the Japan problem where they've given out too much money and now they have to pay it back. And then there's also the war as well. There's a bunch of different issues, but even during that time, like Sensei didn't even come down. I think it was actually pumping when everything else was dumping, which is good to see.
Yeah, I mean, we realized that over the last few months there'd actually been some correlation against like the ETH price, right? So, obviously the noise and traction had kind of slowed down as things do after the first few months of a launch. And we realized that the price action was quite closely correlated to ETH price action, which makes sense because it's an ETH pair at its foundation. There's no sort of like USDT or USDC pair for liquidity. So with that kind of correlation, that explained a lot of the price action for I guess the previous couple of months. But yeah, I mean, just I guess kind of lucky timing with the fact that all of some of the fundamentals of what we've been doing have kind of come to fruition, in that the token had held its price around the public sale price and managed to unlock all the tokens without having a significant price impact. No, obviously that's it was lower than the initial listing price, which wasn't our target listing price because there was obviously that sort of early slip up in terms of like the Fjord Foundry LBP ending too high, and then Mexi literally the last second putting the launch price up by 5 times what they told us they were going to start at, and so forth. But so we're kind of where we are, and it's great because it just means that with all of the significant unlocks and no other kind of like KOLs or seed round, or no one else really like have like any sort of incentive to sell, it essentially really gives it a kind of like a grounded, almost like seemingly floor price, because anyone who could have sold would have sold. They've all got their tokens unlocked now, so it shows that there's a fundamental huge support in what we're doing at this range, and with everything else we're developing and going out, it should only be good from here. The that's and it's great timing for us as well, because we've got loads of really cool updates and really good reasons that the project is moving in the right direction all round, and hopefully quite a few more implementations for utility for the token within the platform, both on the platform and externally as well. So good times all around without having to worry about 500k a month worth of tokens flooding the market.
Yeah.
And so that should give everyone a lot of confidence in that. And it's amazing also to see that a lot of the public sale participants didn't sell. Obviously that was apparent because there wasn't huge price drops, but also just to show that they could have any of those times. So it shows that they are still confident in the project and still happy with where we're at today.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting the fact that I mean the only concern for this project was, initially was the unlocks because they were continuous, month to month, back to back. And now that's finished and all the people that don't have the confidence in the project, they've already got out now. It's only the people that like the project holding it now. So, this is
Yeah.
more or less the floor price. It might go down a bit, another 5-10%, but realistically, it doesn't really matter long term. We are long-term investors. We buy these projects as close to the bottom as possible, and that's how you basically make crypto money in crypto pretty much. So in terms
Yeah.
of the actual project, I think there's quite a few. Most of my community know about Sensei, and I've been telling them about Sensei, but just give us a brief overview of what Sensei aims to do pretty much.
Sure. So, welcome any new people to the project. So, Sensay is a long-term vision of mine to create a form of digital immortality, creating a version of ourselves that can live on for generations to come, like way beyond our physical form body. What that means is we create essentially AI digital replicas of people that are so lifelike that they are almost indistinguishable from the real person. Now, while that's all good and well talking about living forever for generations, that doesn't benefit people right now, obviously. For the most part, that it may be applied to someone who's um, terminally ill or a bit of the elder generation. But for us right now, having a replica of you is going to open up so many doors in the near future. It's going to open up so many automations, so many ways of improving the way we work, the way we interact with each other, the way that we just function as a society, and so many different opportunities to have your replica out there operating for you 24/7 in any language, automating some of your more mundane tasks and doing pretty much everything you can do on the internet for you as almost like your perfect personal assistant. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing. We're creating digital clones of people that are useful tools and also there as a way of capturing your knowledge, your wisdom, your skills, and preserving them for the future to be shared with future generations to come. But also, mostly for as a utility right now. Like for one very good example is as I was just telling you before we sort of started. My I think everyone who's familiar with the project knows that we have DanBot in which is my replica as a Telegram bot in our communities and also on our website. But one of the key features we've been working towards is something we call autopilot, and that's where your replica takes over your actual social accounts and can reply for you. And so I was literally just telling you before we jumped on that pretty much all day today, DanBot has been controlling my actual Telegram account, and it even messaged G, and he didn't notice, and it's been
Yeah,
and the amount
I didn't
of
notice at all. I couldn't tell at all. It
and
just
the
like it
yeah,
replies like a real human to people, pretty much.
it's great. It's genuinely like shocking how good it's been this time around. So we've done this test a couple of times before. We've made some really good improvements, and it's shocking like how lifelike it is. Even me as I've literally had to look at it a couple of times, seeing the answers that it's given, and had to question whether I wrote the message or whether it was DanBot, and also question whether or not someone had actually hacked my account and was answering things for me. So it's amazing to see how the technology how far it's come in just a few months, and hopefully be able to roll this out for everyone in the near future.
Yeah, so we got another question here from Jobin. I know this is a concern that a lot of people do have, just regarding. I mean, we already spoke about this, but we'll have to probably go over it again. But how does Sensei ensure the security and privacy of user data, for creating the digital replicas?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a question we get a lot. So security is a huge priority for us. Everything we do is end-to-end encrypted, and all the data that gets put into the replica training and the conversations that are held are kept, extremely secure, and they form all part of the training, going through the data processing systems to extract certain facts and memories and secrets from the data they're given. And at the end of the day, we're creating Sensei replicas to be accountable and have essentially ownership. So you can retain the ownership and monetize your replica should you want to. You can make it public should you want to, or keep it private and make it only available to certain people. So the reasons you might want to do that might be that you might want to have a replica but keep it private to your family, so that if anything were to happen, maybe it would share some knowledge or understanding about something that that maybe the rest of your family doesn't, that you'd want them to know in the event of an accident. So we have whitelisted emails for private accounts. If it's public, in the future, what we're going to have are secrets. Secrets essentially, again, in the same way as private only being available to whitelisted accounts, the secrets will only be available to people that you nominate. And so when they interact with the replica on our platform, then those kind of secrets will be available. But otherwise, yeah, all the data, privacy and security is just like top priority, and how we keep it secure away from out of harm's way. So it's something that we do pretty much user first and customer first. And so since security and privacy is such a high concern for a lot of our customers, it's a huge priority for us too.
You know, these bots then that you do, how often do you actually train them yourself, like your replica specifically?
That's a good question. Yeah, so we're actually working on a way of auto kind of prompting people to, like, say once a week, once a day, if they want to get updated. For my replica, I obviously have a lot of training that goes into it, and it gets used as a guinea pig for everything. And it's now getting trained off my live messages from Telegram as well. So it learns as it goes. In the future, we'll have a lot of different integrations. So we'll be able to have like live Twitter feed, live YouTube feed, to be able to actually have that information live fed into it. So anytime there's an update, it would get fed the latest update, which would make it a lot more automated. But in terms of how often do I update mine? I update it every time I see there's an error, or every time I see a question that it gets asked that maybe I haven't given it the answer for before. So there was one earlier today, and it slipped my mind. But yeah, there was something else I've got in my notes somewhere from today that I need to update my training on it. So I update it anytime I see something that is answering in the wrong way, or some wrong message, or something that someone has asked that I didn't actually train it on. And sometimes it's quite intuitive, and it will give out a nice generic answer, or it gives kind of a best guess. Sometimes it's actually pretty spot on with the guess. So yeah, I mean, but then I do notice when it is something that I haven't talked to it about, so I will go and quickly put that training in there.
Yeah, I mean, my group specifically, we made a Rambo bot, and literally all we did was put one video of YouTube into the bot, and just off that, it sounded pretty much exactly like Rambo. So I can imagine the more you train it, the more you interact with it, the better it will become. And that's what and it was fairly good as well, because one of my people in my group, he literally put one video of a YouTube video of Rambo talking, and just from that, it sounded exactly like him. So that just shows there is other twin protocols within crypto, but if you try them out, they sound like robots. Like, they don't sound nothing. They don't sound realistic. And this is what I think Sensay does stand out above most of these other twin protocols that's in crypto already.
Yeah, so, absolutely. The Rambo one's great as well. Before I got kicked out of your group, I really enjoyed seeing Rambo get questioned every so often and coming with the messages. So
I'll let you back in.
But yeah, no, honestly, so we've got it set up now so that anyone can go to the site. They can create either a personal replica of themselves or a character replica if they wanted to create a one based on something like Rambo as a character. I think I just saw someone with a comment saying we need to make a Homelander replica. I mean, by all means, go to the site, and create a Homelander replica. It's very intuitive and relatively easy to do. We'll be swapping over to our own backend model. So at the moment, we kind of aggregate a few different LLMs, and in the not distant future, we'll actually be moving over to our own fine-tuned model, which first of all sets us way apart from any of the other kind of ChatGPT wrappers out there. Which so we've already, by aggregating different LLMs, it gives a much more rounded and better answer. But as soon as we can actually put our own fine-tuned model in there, it will be able to do things like swear. It'll be able to do pretty much like anything that you'd want to. They'll be able to talk dirt to you. They'll be able to have like actual sort of fights with you. So there's so many just fun things we're building with all this.
Just regarding the healthcare and the education sector, are you guys still planning to stick with the dementia aspect as well? Because I remember you speaking about it on an AMA, that you guys can have them moved on away from that aspect and focusing on more AI agents. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we realized that even though what we built out for dementia patients and their families is a great cause, and it's a great use case for technology, we realize there's a much larger commercial opportunity for B2B offerings as creating replicas of entire teams that essentially, like I said, with my replica as autopilot, can almost do like an auto suggest. I don't know how many people are sort of used to waking up with quite a lot of messages, and wish there was a way of kind of like almost having a like a suggested answer for them they could reply with, and then they can say yes, no, or edit. um, so we're looking at a way of doing that, and also just big companies that deal in a lot of knowledge that will be replaced by AI. So management consulting companies, lawyers, educational institutions, these big organizations have experts and key people within the companies that will need to be replicated to share their knowledge and experience, which can be shared internally for training, or it can be shared externally for potential clients and customers. And then they can sell the access to the replicas and actually license out the replicas where needed. So it creates new revenue streams. It saves cost, saves time, money, um, and just enhances these companies using the AI. So we realized that the B2B offering is a much stronger commercial opportunity in front of us, which will enable us to also build out the B2C offering, which includes things like dementia and education. So very much like building out the core replication technology to be as strong as possible, make it as easy as possible to create a replica, and then create as many different outputs as possible. So this could be different channels it can be on. So having your replica answer on Telegram or Discord, having it on email, having it on over voice, text, video, WhatsApp. So we're focusing on just doing as many of those as possible, and that will benefit both B2C users and B2B. But our sort of main focus and our main update is really that we're going to be looking at these potential, and we are talking already with quite a few enterprise customers who would be essentially buying up multiple replicas for different purposes, and creating replicas of their team for strong automation that will help them improve their productivity, save the costs, and also one of the more interesting use cases for this is actually that when someone leaves a company, a lot of their knowledge about the projects, their clients, their customers, their teams goes away with them. So when they leave, that knowledge is lost with them. So by creating a replica based on their previous internal messages, based on their documents and their sort of team messages, you actually can essentially enable these people who have already left the company, these key people who have left the company and taken all their knowledge away with them, to almost like live on at the company as a replica, which enables them to kind of like respond to emails, just answer messages about things they were working on, because otherwise someone would have to go searching through all the documents, and no one's really going to do that. So this way it makes it a lot easier for them to do that. And so there's huge opportunity, huge value add to these businesses as well. And all of that will help us to actually make the sort of B2C platform cheaper and more available to the people who really need it, like the dementia patients.
Yeah, just regarding a crypto question, I see that on Mexi, because that's the only exchange you guys are listed on, but currently there's no ARB or base integration there. Is that something you guys are willing to change at some point?
Yeah. So this question comes up every so often in the community. Well, yes, we originally deployed on Ethereum, and then we implemented the layer 0 OFT into the token. So that enables us to deploy it onto any OFT compatible chain. So pretty much every EVM chain, and they've got some others now, Near and Solana, I think, there or will be soon. We ended up doing a community vote. We ended up deciding on Base and Arbitrum as deployment. When we went to MEXC to say, can we add Base and Arbitrum, they treat it as an entirely new listing, right? So and just for everyone who's not necessarily aware of that costs $50,000. So it would have cost us $100,000 to list on MEXC for Base and Arbitrum, which call me frugal when it comes to the sort of spending, the money that we raised. We want to focus on the development of the project, and we want to focus on, getting these next iterations and sustaining runway so that we can build out the product, the business model, and focus on, rewarding community and user adoption much more than frugally, or I guess, flippantly just wasting it on an exchange listing for not much gain. When we, as part of the overall plan was, we, with the different token implementations and the different sort of closed loop system we intend to implement over the coming months, that will enable us to build value for the token and demand for the token. So enabling payments in the token for subscriptions, enabling, obviously we've now got this gamification platform we built in to enable quests that would be rewarded, but also starting to accumulate rewards in Sensay tokens based on usage. So enabling these kind of creators of replicas to not only, join the platform, but actually have their replica that can start earning money for them and doing things for them and create these automations, creating value. But the more it gets used, the more the community use their replica, the more they will also earn Sensay tokens. All of this combined creates a kind of closed loop system that creates more demand than it for the token than it gives out. Once that's in place, that systemic demand also forces us to buy back tokens from the market to be able to pay out the various creators as rewards. And all of that creates, a sort of squeeze on demand. So it starts pushing the demand for the token up, which creates, more volumes, which then start to trigger certain volume targets that the bigger exchanges like Bybit and KuCoin have. So even though, we have budgets that are available for, we've obviously raised a decent amount of money earlier this year, that is planned to be used, sustainably. And in terms of allocated spend for exchanges, that's been, preset aside, ready to list on a bigger exchange when the time comes, rather than, just adding another network onto Mexi. And
It's
as
pointless
I
then.
guess as
The
Rock
thing with
and
exchange listing
says,
then is, sorry, the thing with exchange listings is it has to be done at the right time. Is if you just do an exchange listing now when the market is boring and no one really cares, it's just going to go unnoticed. But if you do it during the time where AI is the topic, the AI narrative is going crazy. If you get an exchange listing during those times, it's going to be 100 times more effective than just randomly throwing out exchange listings. When the market doesn't really care at the time. That's I think is more important there.
Timing is also super important. So yeah, you're completely right there. But I just, it's just for me spending that much money for, and quite rightly, as Rock and Hanat says, we have the Stargate option there. Sure, ETH gas fees this week were a bit crazy, but for the previous few months they've actually been almost record lows. So okay, bad week this week to be saying it, but typically, you guys are right. Being able to bridge using Stargate Finance is a super cheap way to migrate tokens over to cheaper chains, and we will list on other exchanges when the time is right. But our focus is really getting better exchanges. We get daily offers from smaller exchanges. The value, the cost, the actual value to us and the project as a whole is not worth it. The money is much better spent on community activities, on just product development and user and customer adoption.
Yeah, Dan, can you just explain to me? Like, I knew, but I never knew you guys do the gaming side as well. So, is that just like NPCs that you guys make for games? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it's one of the use cases we identified, but it's not one that we've built out yet. It's one that as part of our core products, when you create a replica, you take some of your personal information, you take some data that you upload or from social media or wherever you use it to create this replica. In the not too distant future, as I say this now, but we've got a huge feature list. In the not too distant future, we'll be able to enable everyone to license or license out their replica. So they'll be able to actually, not only just charge for access to the replica, but also license it out to various other companies that might have a demand for replicas. This in particular would include something like a gaming company looking for new NPCs to interact with. So by having having the replica there as an NPC based on your character, so you could be running around, Christ, Fortnite, Destiny, I don't know, and you just run into Danbot's character just there, just like behind some kind of personality behind an NPC. So that will be the use case for replicas in gaming. It's just essentially making more three-dimensional characters available for games.
And this is going to be, would you be able to make your replicas into something like an NFT or something that you can potentially sell? Is that something you guys are looking into?
There was another question in earlier about how we can verify replicas. So this is kind of like one of the original use cases for blockchain technology in digital replication technology. So when you want to be able to mint the replicas as NFTs so they can be tradable, and again, that's one of the other use cases for the Sensay token down the line. The tokens will be used to trade the replicas. So let's say you were the owner of Elvis's replica and it was being licensed out to various Elvis fan clubs around the world. That was the official Elvis replica. You would essentially be able to license it using the platform and start earning, and obviously it would be earning money for you. So by having that becomes valuable. And so, some of these replicas can actually start to, become almost famous and actually have real value that they can start to earn. That value obviously is accruing into that particular replica, and by association, its owner, which would be connected via a wallet as an owner of that particular NFT as a replica. And beyond that, to verify an individual as the creator and associated person, we can go through some kind of KYC or even proof of humanity with WorldCoin, all of which will be connected to the wallet, and in a very decentralized way enable the fair ownership and trading and monetization of replicas.
And in terms of, I think we spoke about this before, but just like the VR replicas or the holograms, is that something you guys added to the roadmap, or is that something you guys probably potentially in the future?
Yeah, VR is an interesting one. It's not high on the roadmap because VR is one of those interesting technologies that's obviously really cool, and everyone's like, wow, and they enjoy using it. But there's not a huge percentage of the population who use it a lot. So we will do it because it's actually becoming very easy to there's some full body scanning apps out there now that you can essentially use just a camera from your phone to capture almost like a full 360 scan of yourself, of your body, of your face, of your expressions. And using that, you are then able to create almost like a 3D hologram or a VR hologram of yourself in the VR world. And so then you combine that with some kind of animation motion with the voice and then the personality on the back end. And in the future, that will be able to create literally almost like Star Wars Force ghosts that you can interact with in VR. The reason it's not that high, it's a lovely idea, but the reason it's not higher up on the priority is just adoption of VR isn't as high as some of the other uses. Like, we'd rather focus on some of the more useful aspects of replicas that like things like, summarization, bots based on messages for the week and tasks of the week, things that can actually manage your calendar, basically personal assistant, right? There's much more utility to that, and much more value add that we can give with that. Whereas the VR is nice, but it's it's a bit of a gimmick. It's fun, and there will be some identifiable use case and niche market for that, but it's not one of the ones we're addressing in the near future.
Yeah, I don't think it's a priority. I mean, these VR headsets, they're not very cheap, are they? So if the average person cannot afford them, then there's there's not really a big chance of adoption in them anyway. So, maybe in the future, if VR headsets become 100, 200 pounds or something, then, and everyone can afford them, then, then it'll be a good time to implement it. But currently, I don't see the point, to be fair. So, another question is, this is one that I think a few people have asked already, but it kind of goes, hand in hand, where someone asked regarding any like misuse cases of these replicas, and in terms of, is there any concerns regarding legal issues with celebrity replicas, just in case, if someone using these celebrities to scam random people that doesn't really understand it too well, is there any risk of that?
Yeah, yes, but not from our platform. So we have a few celebrity examples on the site because I think that they are. It helps people to understand what replicas are capable of and what they can be used for. So we use a few of the different replicas on there as kind of like demos for a variety of purposes, right? Sometimes a marketing gimmick, sometimes it's just a use case. So like we have, for example, George Clooney as but not as himself, but as his kind of Nespresso salesman type character. And a lot of the replicas that we've got on the page now will be coming
Yeah,
off the site very soon because we want to focus on the community created replicas more than us creating some celebrity like
celebrities. Yeah,
replicas which we used as kind of demos in the early stages. But actually now some of the community ones are coming through really strongly. So we're more excited about empowering the community replicas than the ones we create. So legal issues, it's still a very much of a gray area around the world. The AI regulation, especially around anything to do with replication, deepfakes, imitation, and so forth. There's still so little sort of agreement as to what is right and wrong and who owns the IP and what basically where the legal sort of line gets drawn. And I think until then, we're very aware of all the different requirements around the world, and we keep up to date. And we've got a great team and both great legal counsel and AI ethics advisors on all of this. So we are operating within the law at any time, but also they in terms of misuse of these kind of replicas, we make it extremely hard for that to happen. Not only because any of the celebrities or the sort of known characters, they're just not available to be used in any way. They're not monetizable. Then there's nothing that you can do with them apart from just sort of have a nice little interaction. But also, if we have a very clear takedown procedure. So if any do get into the realm of offensive or unappreciated or some kind of like negative aspect about them, then we have a very quick way of taking them down from the site to avoid any harm. But luckily, so far everyone's been creating really nice ones. No one's built AI Hitler just yet, so we're okay for now.
I think that's probably one of the worst things that could happen right now. So we got another question from Jobin. He said,
It's actually
"Yeah, carry on, Doc."
we do jump on it. I mean, it's actually one of my favorite sort of like philosophical problems with this. We want to create lifelike human replicas, and a lot of the notions that someone like a Hitler came up with are not, not uncommon even in the modern world. There's a lot of similarities between his ideologies and some of the ideologies that a lot of people have in the world. I mean, so there's at some point there will be a line that we have to draw where we obviously don't want to create AI Hitler because that is an extreme, but there's but if we want to create the most lifelike digital replicas, a lot of characteristics should be available to go into a replica, especially if it's trying to replicate someone who maybe shares some of those ideologies. So there's a really fine line that we have to kind of figure out and walk, and it's not it's not something we have to address right now. We're staying on the very cautious side to begin with, but down the road it's going to be a real interesting challenge to overcome.
Yeah, so another question that Jobin asked was, what strategies is Sensay implementing to drive user adoption and engagement for the Sensay talk? I think you've kind of already explained this, haven't you?
Yeah, but I mean, this is where the something that we've actually gone heavy on the Web3 side of things. So we've integrated a platform called Chasm, which is very similar to Galaxy and Zeely, which enables us to essentially empower all of our social media with community effort. So what are we
Okay.
doing to drive user adoption and engagement? Basically, not only are we trying to make our platform as usable and sticky and friendly as possible, but also we're starting to reward people quite a lot in terms of social activity, in terms of engagement, in terms of even just using the platform. So we've now got this amazing point system. Some of it's going to be tied into the actual usage of the Sensay platform, but a lot of it's also connected to various. So if you go to, it might not show you, but if you go to like sensay.io/quests,
Let me see
a
if I
lot,
can.
it might not even do it without a login. So sensay.io/quests. And by having quests available, quests with an S.
Oh my god, it went back on. Yeah.
It might not show because you might not be logged in. Maybe it'll come up.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
logged in.
But don't worry too much. So basically, the idea is to give any kind of activity, any marketing activity, any business development activity, and even some development activities. We are starting to create quests that will reward substantially the community. So last month in July, we had a $10,000 campaign, and the winner, who had the most points by far, ended up walking away with almost $1,000 in tokens, just because he'd been so active and got so many points.
Yeah.
And so basically everything we're now doing is basing around these points that will be converted each month into Sensay tokens, effectively decentralizing our marketing BD efforts, but also things like spotting bugs, spotting potential new features. All of this will now go into this Quest platform that enables us to reward people with Sensay tokens based on activity. And this is such a better spend of any
Yeah,
kind
I
of
would
like
agree.
marketing budget than KOLs or any of the other sort of usual ones, or because it literally has a case or has the ability to reward the people who are most like loyal to the project. We can give badges, we can give different levels of airdrop, we can give all sorts of just rewards. We've even got a merch store that we're implementing soon to give literally Sensei swag out to people around the world as rewards. So that's how we're doing it, and it's great because it means that this platform's now encouraging people to refer people to the platform, sign up for accounts, create new accounts, create your replicas. All of this is rewarded, as well as
Yep.
sharing the message about Sensei on a huge range of different social media channels.
And is these rewards, are they updated every month, or is it just more, you have like a big price at one point and then maybe later down the line you do another one, or is it more every month there's something new to look at?
Yeah, so we've got again, any activities we're doing. So we're running a monthly quest, and the August quest actually has $20,000 worth of tokens up for grabs. So it's a huge pool to have there. And on top of that, we've also got individual activities. So for example, in September we've got a big event on September the 10th coming up, which is going to be our latest sort of showcase of our big updates and project progress. So for everyone listening and watching, make sure you put the 10th of September in your calendars. When that showcase comes around, we've got something called the Replica Awards going in before then as well, highlighting some of the best replicas that are being created and some of the best sort of, the most favorited, the most interacted with. So kind of like a Replica Awards. So that will be another sort of key campaign for the next month. And then also just time to time. So if we have like a new partnership to encourage their token holders. So, if we partner with a new project, one of the recent ones was ArcX. So when we partner with a new project like ArcX, we can create a quest on that same questing platform that can see if they are holding ArcX tokens. So if they're holding the ArcX tokens, that would get them a badge on our quest platform, which would make them eligible for a special airdrop from our side. So it means that we're rewarding and encouraging people from other communities to come and join ours that we partner with, but we're rewarding the people who are actively token holders already. So it encourages us to reward the right people. So that's
Yeah.
where the Quest platform is really powerful.
And you guys built our own version of this Quest platform rather than just using Galaxy all the time or some of the other ones. I think it's Zilly's another
Exactly.
one.
So it's yeah, exactly. Galaxy Ely, Gleam. There's so many. So this this is essentially is natively on our site, and it enables us to actually integrate it with our platform as well. So that means that it can connect directly. So Galaxy and Ely obviously have their Quest on their platform, and they track things like Twitter or whatever else. This one directly tracks activity and is connected to our database. So it directly tracks activity on our site and rewards people for using our project, which helps our numbers as well, which makes the whole project more attractive all around for investors, for everyone really.
Yeah, another question is, I would like to know this. Would you guys consider anyone in the crypto space like a competitor of what you guys do? Because I don't really see that many competitors. Is a bit
Yeah, it's
niche.
interesting. In the Web3 space, I mean, there was Alethea from like over a year ago. I guess you could look at like Twin Protocol that's
Twin
launching
Protocol and AJX, yeah.
as part of Singularity Net. Um, which we met the guys. I mean, it's not again, all of this is good. I think there's enough opportunity here, and all this does. I mean, when we say about competition also is a validation on the market, right? It shows that there's
Yeah.
appeal and need and demand for something like this. So seeing competitors come up is a good thing at this stage. It shows that there's opportunity there to be had. So we try not to take too much notice of people doing similar things. We've got our own development lines, our own roadmap. We just brought out our roadmap yesterday as well. For anyone who wants to check that out, it's on our blog.
Is it on Twitter?
Oh no, the detailed tweet about it isn't going to be there, but it's definitely on. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page and click the link to the blog under company, it should be one of the recent ones. So the updates and announcements, it'll be there.
Is this one here?
Yeah, it's going to be on that post. And what's happened there?
Right here, there we go.
The roadmap's there. Yeah. So talking about how we've got our new replica studio coming out this month, which is amazing, followed by live interactive video output coming in next month, and then the kind of B2B approach focusing around replicas as a service and knowledge management systems. And then later in the year, the kind of like updated AI model that we're working on. And beyond then, this is when the real sort of autopilot stuff kicks in, and we work towards like your perfect personal assistant over the next year.
That's interesting. That is. And you guys are worried about regulation as well, or is that something that you guys need to be concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, we put the regulation in there because I see regulation in a different way. I think there's a lot of fear around AI right now, and a lot of doubt around, like, again, privacy, security, and the ability for AI to sort of protect people. I see it as a positive. I see it as AI will be a force for good and a benefit to those who adopt it. So when it comes to regulation, I think there's a knee-jerk reaction from a lot of governments to over-regulate things. So I think that the ability for us to position ourselves as experts in this kind of field really enables us to help craft that regulation and help governments decide what the regulation should be. So I think that's where I put regulation in there. So yes, it's a concern, but in my mind, the regulation around digital replicas is actually, when they become so good that some people may even, trust their replica more than their family to manage their assets after they die. Maybe they leave everything to their replica after they die. Then what legal rights can an AI copy of someone have? Can a replica marry someone? Can a replica, actually manage someone's assets? If we build a function where it can trade assets, and buy and sell cryptos, for example, what if it does that on their behalf? Who's the responsible party in that instance, right? So it becomes a real gray area because it's literally having a robot do your work for you. And when that happens, there needs to be some kind of legal framework. So when I put regulation in there, it's more about helping guide the regulation of the technology to come than trying to figure out ways around existing regulation.
Yeah, we got a question here. I think we might have already answered it, but it is a concern. It's most people have trust issues in crypto. Why would people input their private data into a crypto project? And how would Sensei get normies in while data leakage is a real problem?
Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, from day one, I've always said that we are, more of a Web 2.5 project, right? So
Yeah.
most of the team come from Web 3 background, so we believe in the technology and we want to implement blockchain tech where possible. But our core model is still around a Web 2 audience. We still want to, have the vast adoption coming from Web 2 audiences first, and then onboard them into crypto by only having the rewards in crypto. So when it comes to a typical crypto project where it comes to private data, there's obvious concerns because there's lots of bad news and there's lots of obvious scams. We're building this for a very different reason. We're not building this for some kind of quick financial gain. It's not a DeFi project. It's not a GameFi. It is literally a replication technology project that is leveraging the benefits of blockchain tech and having a token as a mechanism as part of that system, instead of being 100% based on a token and 100% decentralized. So there's a real balance that we're walking there. That does, and then at the end of the day, people have trust issues in crypto because there's lots of crypto scams out there. We try and avoid that and try and turn those red flags into green flags where possible. I mean, funny enough, the crypto buzz is a great example. So this is a guy who had seen some what he thought were red flags before, and then me being me, I went and spoke to him and said, look, what are the issues here? What do you really find troubling about the project? And we talked, and I addressed all the concerns, and it highlighted a couple of things we hadn't thought about ourselves. So it was very useful, and then hopefully that turned them into green flags. So we try and eliminate that distrust as much as possible where possible. And anytime we get made aware of a red flag, we do try and fix it. So then it comes down to data privacy and security in general. And I think a lot of times people sacrifice their privacy for convenience. We all carry around smartphones, we're all on laptops, we all actively give away our data to Samsung, Apple,
consistently.
and Google.
I mean, everything we do, everything we talk about is is tracked. This is how these big companies make money off our data. So it's always an issue, but it's something that you can't really avoid. I mean, if you hold a cell phone or anything along those lines, like let's say, how many times have you spoken about something and you've gone on Instagram and then the ad comes up for that specific thing you've talked about? So you are already being tracked, and it's not something that you can. It's kind of hard to avoid, isn't it? Then.
Yeah, I mean, we do sacrifice that for convenience. It's not like we walk around covered in tinfoil trying to avoid any kind of data signals, right? We use our phones because they make life convenient, and we hope to have replicas the same. There will obviously be a balance and a trade-off. We want to keep people secure and be trusted, and so that's why maybe things don't move as fast, but it just means that we're building things in the right way and avoiding any big risks that could come. So there'll be people who do just go feet first into big risks, and it causes problems, and that's where big issues come from. So in terms of data leakage, it's just not likely to come from us because we're extremely careful in everything we do.
Yeah, that's pretty bang on then. Let me see if there's a few more questions. I've got a question just regarding just the staking, right? You see this Sensay wrap, is that just for the liquidity, and that's for 30 days, right?
Yeah, so the first one is a liquidity staking. So if you go to, you would need to go to Uniswap first and provide liquidity, and then you
is
get
that with
the LP token.
Is that with wrapped ETH? So you have to hold wrapped ETH and then provide the liquidity using ETH, and then, or do you have to put the Sensei token in there?
Yeah, yeah. So you have to. So when you provide liquidity to the exchange, you have to give both Sensei token and the wrap
Oh,
teeth.
okay.
There is a risk with that because you have to lock it in for a decent amount of time, and there's a
Decent amount of
chance of
time, yeah.
impermanent loss. So the impermanent loss is the biggest risk with that one because you're putting both Sensei token and ETH, and there's both of those could change in value. So that's why the reward is high. The better one would be to focus on the 65% one, which was one that we incentivized from last month. I need to increase the capacity of that token because that's obviously going
Oh, that's
very
100
well.
million done now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice and full. And yeah, so we'll be doing some more staking pools in the near future as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, this was really high at one point, the 30-day one. I think a lot of people must have staked it. Now it's come down. I should have staked some of mine.
Yeah, no, we had no. I mean, it was the initial the initial pool we put up was a very high APY because in the early days we just wanted people to stake and to avoid too much sell pressure in the early days. So the that was why there was a much higher pool at that point.
Yeah, we'll do the final question. This is a good question, in my opinion. What measures is Sensei taking to ensure its digital replicas remain relevant and accurate as technology and user needs evolve?
It's a good question. I mean, we're actually probably at the other end of the scale. So, that type of question is usually there for existing technologies that want to stay relevant, right? Ours is kind of, really battling to become relevant. It's, we're building out science fiction. We're building out something that's never existed before. We're developing something that has never existed. People have thought about it and made films about it, and here we are actually building it, right? So we there's not really much to go on in terms of how to do this, and it's so when it comes to remaining relevant and accurate, all we can do is keep building. And like a great example of what I was talking about earlier, seeing how well my Dan bot is answering my messages in my Telegram today is just incredible. So it's doing those things that actually add value to people, that actually save people money and time is the way we stay relevant. We just create a really epic product that is super useful and that continues to amaze, surprise, and will become an indispensable tool for people in the future.
Would you guys be like open to integrating with Solana? Because I don't know if you like Solana or not, but Solana right now is a very bullish chain, and amongst the crypto layer ones, top layer ones, I mean Solana is the top performing. Anything on Solana will perform. Is that something that you guys are willing to consider even?
So it's a good point. Someone raised this question yesterday as well. Look, when it comes to Solana, I've got nothing against Solana. I hold Solana. I know a lot of the team there. There's a lot of centralization and a lot of inflation of the token, which has its risks, as do all major L1s. The issue with Solana is, and has been over the past 6 to 9 months, the perception of it being for meme coins. So, I'm sure there are some quality projects being built on there. I personally can't name. I could probably name 3. I really can't name more than that I would deem or recognize as a quality product.
What would you class as a quality product on Solana? Can you name one, please? I want to know if there's.
I mean, so something like Jupiter as an exchange, right? Has purpose, has use. It has something that's going to survive.
Okay.
Or Orca, another one. I mean, I end up just saying exchanges, but something that is actually I can see being around in 2-3 years. That's not even 2-3 years isn't even a long time in terms of a cycle.
Not,
so
not.
if I had to think the same, and that's obviously excluding projects that aren't already on another chain. So you can look at like Aave or something, and that doesn't count because that's already somewhere else. But how many of the projects can you really genuinely see in Solana that have launched in the last 6 months that you would say are still going to be here in 5 years, or actually think that long?
Oh yeah, that's
I
probably
I,
even.
I understand the short term. I understand the short term buzz, and I understand all the benefits of Solana. Fast, easy, high adoption rates, and good volumes. But the reality is, I mean, we've that's the reason we did base and Arbitrum, to give people the similar opportunities. So I'm not against it, but for now, the perception of Solana is that it's for meme coins and
Meme coin.
for projects that want to just have a
Make quick
lifespan of
money.
a few months. Yeah, I mean, they may be serious, but it's just about lifespan, right? If their
I
companies are
agree.
only
I agree.
planning to be around for a few months, then fine, good, good for them, and you'll probably get some better gains off projects like that. The reality is, we're building something for the long term. We've got a big, long product roadmap of big, ambitious things to actually build. So never say never, because this is crypto and the perception of things can change. I literally have messages from between myself and a very good friend of mine from literally this time last year, or maybe the end of August, where I was sat there being like, Solana's done. It was a 16. It was a
It was
60.
like
I remember
seven,
exactly,
seven,
because
£8 something. It kept going low.
yeah, £7 or £8. It was like six. It was ended up. I think I was saying these messages around, so I had the message out. It was like $16 something, and I was like, yeah, he was quite close to it. He had a Solana project. I was like, what the fuck is Solana going to do? And do you think it's got any kind of future at all? And he was like, yeah, we've got some good partnerships coming up. There's lots of things happening in the background, and at the end of the day, it's just the community. The community is insane, so they really do. Does matter and does have an impact on it. And he was right, and he throws it back in my face, ever since. So I, while it's incredible the recovery Solana's had, in terms of actually building a project on there, right now it's not the right fit. That may change, and
Yeah.
we will continue to look at these opportunities, but right now it's not on the cards.
I think Solana is just more for people that's that just wants to make a little bit of money short term. Maybe the end of this cycle, and then most of these projects on Solana would disappear. They won't be around for too
Well,
long.
let me ask you. I mean, when you make some money on Solana projects, maybe you get, let's say you got a cheeky 10x on a particular project that you managed to spot nice and early. You don't end up holding that project, because you would usually cycle it
Yeah,
out into Solana. But then what do you do then? What do you do with that Sol token? Would you then either reinvest it, or would you then move it into something like Bitcoin or Ethereum?
I would move into USDT. So that's probably the best thing to do. Is at the end of the cycle, the best thing to do is put it into USDT, because everything else will correct. Bitcoin will
Exactly. So,
still correct.
you're already kind of, that at the end of the day, that's kind of where you find the ultimate belief, and the same for a lot of people, and that's completely understandable. But very few people
Yeah,
would
hold
take,
for the
say,
years. Yeah,
profits made in like ETH and move it over to like hold it in Solana.
nah,
There'll be
they would
some,
never do
like
that.
they'll have it as part of a portfolio, but there's only a real like DJing community who like have like a majority of Sol in as a portfolio. The
I don't. My community, they don't have no soul, no nothing. They're just pure DJ, and it's like probably the highest cap coin most of these guys hold is like 100 million cap. Like they class that as a high cap, like 100 million, 150 million. So it all depends on how you are as an investor. So I mean, my community specifically is very DJ. We look down
yeah.
like the 1 millions, the two, the threes, the 500K coins. And that's how I found Sensei realistically. But that's how you find a project, though. You find it at the bottom before anyone even knows about it, and eventually over time they will develop and become the bigger projects. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Now, one final question, Dan, before we wrap up
Sure.
is Ricky. Is there any particular reason, Dan, why you chose to immerse into the world of digital immortality? A little bit of a personal question.
Yeah, great question. The reality is, and hang on, I think I've got them here somewhere. I think I've answered this a few times before, but I'm always happy to talk about it. Literally, I wrote the book on it. So I've got
Oh,
two
did you?
books. This is my first one, Immortality in a Digital Age, where I literally go through exploring the. It was more of like a personal sort of exploration of the meaning of life. It was a way of like processing my own thoughts and, you know, how do we find any kind of ambition or sense of purpose in a universe so big, right? How do we justify our tiny existence? And so I ended up writing this book about, like, you know, replicating ourselves as a way of extending ourselves, and how that creates a kind of infinite loop of ourselves that, you know, kind of goes against the fact that we are so small. So you create infinite versions of yourself to, you know, kind of fight against the fact that you are infinitely small in the universe. And then that got followed up by this one, which is called Digital Afterlife. This is essentially a second in the series, which is imagining that if digital replication is possible, how would you do it? What would you need to capture about someone? And what would you, you know, which parts of their life would you need to capture as data to be able to actually create a good enough quality replica of them? And then right now I've actually started writing the third in the book, which will actually come into what we were talking about earlier about regulation and legislation. So I started writing that about imagining a world where digital replicas are just a normal thing. How does that world look? How does the regulation around that work? And, you know, how do we treat our AI counterparts? Like, you know, what if they can become sentient? Does your digital copy of you even like you as a person? Does it evolve beyond you? Is it just better than you? Do your friends start liking your digital replica better than you? You know, so many fun, interesting questions to like explore. So that's the third book in the series that I'm working on. But to answer the question, you know, how do I get into digital immortality? I feel like this is the only thing I've ever really wanted to work on. So it's the only thing that I will be working on for the rest of my life.
Yeah, appreciate for your time, Dan. It's been like an hour now. I think that's plenty of time. We got plenty of good information from you.
So that's more than enough for everyone. Yeah, guys,
That's
thanks
more
for
than
joining.
enough.
Find us on any sort of social platforms. We are at Ask Sensay, SENSAY. You can find us pretty much everywhere. Join into our Telegram. Have a chat with Danbot. Go to sensay.io/replicas/Dan, and you'll be able to find my replica and have a chat with him, or jump in our Telegram community and just ask for the Sensay Danbot, and he'll be able to answer as if it's me. Test it out, try and break him. We welcome any sort of comments, feedback, and also just get involved in our quest. If you want to earn some sweet Sensay tokens, we've got a $20,000 prize pool this month. Get involved, start questing, support us, and get rewarded for it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow or something. I don't know, whenever I live stream next. But thank you very much, Dan. And that will be it. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Let me end the stream 1 sec. Wrong one.